Hey, this is the World Advice Channel 2. What I want to talk about today is the question of, are black people cursed? So, for this video, I'll explain in a simple and straightforward way the topic of, are we as a people cursed? So, now that I mentioned that, let's get started, okay? So, when it comes to the simple answer to that question, are black people cursed? The simple answer to that question is no. Black people, we are not cursed, okay? Because even though, of course, with how much we've been through throughout our history, of course, also, of course, no surprise. When you look at the history of what happened to us, from many different things to even, of course, no surprise, of course, whatsoever, slavery and the different things, and of course, the so called mark of the beast we have because we're the sins of Cain and all that type of crap. It makes you wonder if we are cursed, okay? But a simple answer to that question is no, we are not cursed, okay? Because all the things that happen to us can be simply explained through simple logic why one thing led to another, okay? For example, okay? Such as, for example, when it comes to the historical element, which of course makes sense because how human beings work is we tend to focus more on basing how things are on the past than, of course, basing things on the future, okay? Such as, for example, easily the 500 years of slavery and stuff we've been through, not to mention the things that happened before, but that's another topic in itself. But back to what I was saying about the 500 years of slavery we've been through, that has nothing to do with a curse. That's simply down to the things that the Africans in the past in that part of Africa who did do those things, the mistakes they made. And what the mistake they made was, to be specific when it comes to the issue, was that they sold other Africans into slavery to Europeans, okay, for that matter, okay, because they trusted the Europeans when it comes to, of course, this particular issue. They trusted them. They felt the Europeans were going to give them firearms and this and that and all that type of stuff to, of course, make their empires grow bigger and all that type of stuff. That's what they did. They trusted the Europeans, and they felt the Europeans would respect the treaties and all that type of stuff, which of course they didn't, and they were more than willing. Even rival nations in Europe were willing to help each other out when it came to enslaving other Africans. Okay, so that is simply down to stupidity when it comes to the leadership of it. Because for the longest time, whites made it clear they didn't like us, even when they were working with them. They were disrespectful, from what the records say, when they treated the Africans that they were working with and all that stuff. That has literally nothing to do with a curse. That's just down to stupidity, okay, for what the African leadership did back then. You know? Not to mention, of course, another thing to also mention is, which of course is the point of what I'm trying to get across, is that if they simply didn't trust them and didn't sell other Africans in slavery because they realized who they were, the Europeans at the time at least, then this would have never happened in the first place. So that's what I have to say right then and there. So if they never trusted them, then it would have never happened. Okay, that proves that curse is simply untrue. Okay, the second thing I also mentioned when it comes to this idea of this so-called curse against black people, you know, is simply down to the fact that when it comes to the modern day world, it has nothing to do, at least for the most part, with white people. For the most part, it's our own fault. And when it comes to it's our own fault as a community as a whole, it comes down to different things. Like, for example, not showing up on time when you have to go to a place, okay? You know, overcharging things for that matter, okay? Um, not being organized, and so on and so forth when it comes to running a business, okay? That is the second point I'm trying to get across here. Because obviously, as we all know, we live in a world run by money, okay? So if we live in a world run by money, if you're not doing those things, you know, how are you going to build up your community? Okay, and those things are so easy to simply not do. If anything, anyone can show up on time when they have to go to a place. Anyone can be organized if they're at least trying. Like if you're running a business, it's like the only thing in the main thing in the world you really have to do anyway. Like you can't tell me that, oh, I can't do that properly, for crying out loud, you know. Not to mention the other things I've heard people complain about, like how rude they are and stuff, and overcharging. Of course, let's not forget overcharging. Those are things that you obviously can do. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to not do those things, okay? And that's exactly the truth of the matter when it comes to that particular topic, okay? Black people, if we stop doing that, we will do a lot better, okay? Because we are most oppressive group of people on the planet. I'm certain there'd be more than enough people who would be willing to go to black businesses in the black community of itself, okay? So that's what I have to say right then and there. And the third and last thing I also want to mention when it comes to that particular topic, of course, no surprise, is of course the future. Because when it comes to the future, um, believe it or not, contrary to what white people have taught us, that everything that you can think of has already been done. That is actually far from the truth. There's many new ideas and inventions that can still be thought of that our community could, of course, be able to do for that matter. Okay, there's more than enough things that our community can still be able to do. Okay. Whether it could be things like coming up with new medicine ideas out there, new ideas you can come up with for technology, like more efficient smartphones, to space travel for that matter. Okay, there's a bunch of things our community can actually do and develop that would literally debunk the fundamental fuel of anti-black, the fundamental thing that fuels anti-black racism, I should say, which is the idea that we're stupid. So if we're able to at least do that, those things, and obviously there's more than enough time in our future. Oh boy, because there's really no end to anything for that matter. The future can go on for literally eternity, for crying out loud. Then we have more than enough time to catch up and make a change for our community, and obviously get us towards a future which, whether you're interested in this topic or not, the future of humanity is in the stars. Okay, whether you're interested in that topic or not, our future is outer space. So if we can obviously do those particular things, then we can recover from all the things we've been through. And that is what my point I'm trying to get across here, is that there is definitely hope. We are not cursed. So in short, this is my video. All I have to say is that I hope you enjoyed it. And just remember, if you like this video and videos like this, remember to thumbs this video up and hit the subscribe button. And this is all I have to say. And simply put, I'm out. So bye.